Hey there, I'm Laura, a 35-year-old single mom just trying to get by in this wild world. It's me, my incredible 12-year-old daughter, Emily, and our cozy little home in the suburbs. It's not much, but it's ours. I'm pulling crazy hours as a nurse, working long shifts to keep the lights on and food on the table. Emily? She's something special. Smart as a whip with a creative flair that's out of this world. She's got this mane of curly hair that would make Rapunzel jealous, and she loves experimenting with it. It's her way of expressing herself. Now here comes the thorn in my side. Gertrude, my ex-mother-in-law. She's a cranky, 68-year-old widow who lives way too close for comfort. Don't get me wrong, I'd appreciate the after-school help with Emily, but the woman drives me up the wall. Laura dear, don't you think Emily's hair is a bit wild? Gertrude's voice grates on my nerves as I rush to get ready for another shift. I take a deep breath. It's just hair, Gertrude. She likes it that way. In my day, young ladies knew how to present themselves properly, she huffs. I bite my tongue, reminding myself that beggars can't be choosers when it comes to childcare. Thank God for Sarah, my best friend and fellow nurse. She's my rock, always there to listen or step in when Gertrude's being especially unbearable. Girl, I don't know how you deal with that old bat. Sarah says over coffee one morning. You've got the patience of a saint. I laugh. Trust me, it's wearing thin. Then there's Michael, my neighbor. He's a sweetheart, always offering to help out with odd jobs around the house. And I'd be lying if I said I hadn't noticed the way he looks at me. But after the disaster with Emily's dad, I'm not exactly eager to dive back into the dating pool. Hey Laura, need a hand with that? Michael calls out one afternoon as I struggle with some boxes. Thanks, Michael. You're a lifesaver, I reply, trying not to notice how his arms flex as he lifts the heavy load. But life's not all bad. Between neighbors and helpful friends, it's the constant back and forth with Gertrude that wears me down. Emily, sit up straight. A lady doesn't slouch. She scolds during dinner. I see Emily slump even more. Mom, do I have to listen to her? She asks, eyes pleading. Just try your best, sweetie. I say, giving Gertrude a pointed look. We all have different ideas about what's important. Different ideas indeed, Gertrude mutters. If you just listen to me, Laura, that child wouldn't be running wild. I clench my fists under the table. Emily is not running wild. She's expressing herself, and I won't stifle that. Mark my words, Laura. Without proper discipline, that girl is going to end up in trouble. Watching Emily retreat to her room, her wild curls bouncing behind her, I can't help but wonder how long I can keep this delicate balance. Something's got to give, and I have a feeling it won't be pretty when it does. After an exhausting extra shift at the hospital, all I wanted was to hold my baby girl and collapse into bed. But the moment I walked through the door, I knew something was wrong. The house was eerily quiet. Emily? Sweetie, I'm home, I called out. No response. I found her in her room, curled up on the bed, sobbing. When she looked up at me, my heart sank. Every single one of her beautiful curls was gone. Her head was shaved clean. Mom, Emily wailed, throwing herself into my arms. Grandma? While I was sleeping. I held her tight, my mind spinning. Shit, baby, it's okay. We'll fix this. But inside I was raging. How dare that woman touch my child like this? I stormed into the living room. Gertrude sat there, cool as a cucumber. What the hell did you do? I screamed, my voice shaking with fury. She didn't even flinch. I did what needed to be done, she replied coldly. That child was becoming far too vain and disobedient. Vain? Disobedient. She's a 12-year-old girl. I shot back, my anger boiling over. Precisely, and it's high time she learned some discipline. In my day. This isn't your day. I cut her off, my voice sharp. This is assault. I'm calling the police. Gertrude scoffed, waving a dismissive hand. Don't be so dramatic, Laura. I've tolerated your lenient parenting long enough. Someone had to step in before Emily turned into a delinquent like her father. That's when I lost it. Get out of my house. Now, I pointed towards the door, my hand trembling with rage. Gladly, she sneered, gathering her things with a calmness that only fueled my fury. But mark my words, you'll regret not heeding my advice. That girl needs a firm hand. The only thing she needs is for you to stay the hell away from her. I yelled, watching her retreat. As the door clicked shut behind her, The full weight of what had just happened crashed down on me. I sank to the floor, tears streaming down my face, overwhelmed by anger, guilt, and sorrow. A knock at the door jolted me out of my haze. It was Michael, looking concerned. "Laura, is everything okay?" I heard shouting. One look at my face, and he knew it wasn't. "What happened?" he asked softly. I couldn't speak, just pointed towards Emily's room. When Michael saw her, his eyes widened in shock. "Oh my God, who did this?" "Gertrude." I choked out, my voice barely a whisper. Michael's expression darkened. "That's it. I'm calling the police." "No," Emily cried from her bed, her voice thick with tears. "I don't want anyone to see me like this." I hugged her close. "It's okay, baby. We won't do anything you're not comfortable with." Michael knelt beside us. "Is there anything I can do?" he asked gently. Before I could answer, my phone rang. It was Sarah. "Laura, what's going on?" "I got your missed call, and you sounded upset." I tried to explain through sobs. Sarah's voice crackled with anger. "That evil witch. I'm coming over right now." Within minutes, Sarah burst through the door, her arms loaded with bags. "Okay, I've got hats, scarves, and some cute pixie cut photos for inspiration. We're going to get through this." Emily managed a weak smile as Sarah worked her magic, trying to salvage what was left of Emily's hair. As Sarah busied herself, I filled Michael in on the sordid history with Gertrude. "I can't believe I let that woman anywhere near Emily," I said, self-loathing creeping into my voice. Michael squeezed my hand. "This isn't your fault, Laura. You were just trying to provide for your daughter." "Damn right," Sarah chimed in. "The only person to blame here is that old bat, Gertrude." I nodded, but the guilt gnawed at me. How could I have been so blind? As the night wore on, Emily finally drifted into an exhausted sleep. Sarah and Michael insisted on staying, camping out in the living room to keep us company. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, I made a vow. Gertrude would pay for what she'd done. One way or another, I would make sure justice was served. My baby girl deserved nothing less. The next few days were a blur of tears, anger, and sleepless nights. Emily refused to leave her room, let alone go to school. I called in sick, knowing my daughter needed me more than ever. "Sweetie, you can't hide forever," I said gently, sitting on the edge of her bed. "I look like a freak, Mom," Emily sobbed. "Everyone's going to laugh at me." My heart broke all over again. "No, baby, you're beautiful, inside and out. We'll get through this, together." Our first stop was the police station, but that turned out to be a huge disappointment. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but since there was no physical harm, this is a civil matter," the officer said, looking completely disinterested. "No physical harm?" I exploded. Look at my daughter. But rules were rules, apparently. Next, we went to see a lawyer. "We can definitely pursue charges for emotional abuse," he explained, "and sue for damages, but it won't be easy." I didn't care. I was out for blood. Sarah was a godsend through it all. She helped me document everything, photos, timelines, you name it. "We're going to nail that old witch to the wall," Sarah declared as we worked. Meanwhile, Michael was doing his own part. "I've got a buddy who specializes in family law," he told me. "Top-notch guy, he's willing to take your case pro bono." I could have kissed him right then and there, but there was no time for that. Things were about to get even messier. It started with whispers at the grocery store, sidelong glances from neighbors. Then came the phone calls from distant relatives. "Laura, is it true you've been neglecting Emily?" my cousin asked. That's when I realized Gertrude was on the offensive, spreading her poisonous lies. "She's telling everyone I'm an unfit mother," I raged to Sarah and Michael. "That witch is trying to turn everyone against me." But Gertrude had underestimated me. I started digging, calling up old babysitters, family friends, anyone who had ever interacted with her and Emily, and the stories that came out, they made my blood run cold. "Grandma said if I told you, she'd send me away to boarding school," Emily confessed one night, tears streaming down her face. "She used to lock me in the closet when I misbehaved." I held her close, fury and guilt warring inside me. How had I missed this? I whispered, my voice breaking. "It's not your fault, sweetie," I assured her. But deep down, I wondered if I'd ever be able to forgive myself. "But I promise you, Grandma will never hurt you again," I whispered, holding Emily close. With Sarah and Michael's help, we hatched a plan. Hidden cameras went up around the house, and we coached Emily on how to safely gather evidence if Gertrude tried to contact her. "Remember, kiddo," Michael said, showing Emily how to use the voice recorder on her phone. "If Grandma calls or comes over, you hit this button right away." Emily nodded solemnly. "I won't let you down, Mom." "You could never let me down, baby," I said, hugging her tight. "We're in this together." As we finalized our preparations, a grim determination settled over me. Gertrude thought she could bully and manipulate her way to victory, but she had no idea what was coming. This mama bear was ready to fight, and I wasn't about to lose. "All right, team," I said, looking at Sarah and Michael. "Let's take this witch down." The trap was set. Now all we had to do was wait for Gertrude to make her move. And when she did, we'd be ready. The day of the trial arrived, and my stomach churned with nerves. Emily squeezed my hand as we walked into the courtroom. "You got this, Mom," she whispered, giving me a reassuring smile. Our lawyer presented the mountain of evidence we collected. The hidden camera footage was damning, showing Gertrude barging into our home, screaming threats at Emily. "You ungrateful little brat." Gertrude's voice rang out in the courtroom. "I'll teach you to disobey me." I watched the judge's face darken, but that was just the beginning. One by one, witnesses took the stand. Former babysitters, family friends, even Emily's old piano teacher. They all had stories of Gertrude's cruelty. She told me if I didn't make Emily practice for 3 hours a day, she'd have me fired. The piano teacher testified. But the real kicker was Emily's testimony. My brave girl stood up there, her voice shaking but determined. "Grandma said if I ever told Mom what she did, she'd make sure I was taken away," Emily said, her small voice filling the room. I was so scared. I couldn't hold back my tears. How had I not seen this? Gertrude's lawyer tried to paint her as a concerned grandmother, but it was too late. The truth was out. When the judge announced his decision, I nearly collapsed with relief. "This court grants a permanent restraining order against the defendant," he declared. Furthermore, significant damages are awarded for the plaintiff's therapy and emotional distress. We'd won. Gertrude was out of our lives for good. As we left the courtroom, Gertrude approached us, tears in her eyes. "Laura, Emily, I'm so sorry," she sobbed. I cut her off coldly. "Save it, Gertrude. You're dead to us." As we walked away, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The next few months were tough, but we got through it together. Emily started therapy, slowly coming out of her shell. One night, as we sat around the dinner table with Sarah and Michael, Emily made an announcement. "I want to donate the money from the lawsuit," she said, her voice steady, "to help other kids like me." I couldn't have been prouder. As for me and Michael, well, let's just say he became a permanent fixture in our lives. His steady support through everything meant the world to us. The real turning point came about 6 months after the trial. Emily and I were at the hair salon, and for the first time since the incident, she was excited about her hair. "What do you think about purple streaks, Mom?" she asked, her eyes shining with hope. I grinned. "I think purple streaks sound awesome, baby." As the stylist worked her magic, I caught Emily's eye in the mirror. She was smiling, really smiling, for the first time in months. "You know what, Mom?" she said, her voice light. "I think we're going to be okay." I squeezed her hand. "Yeah, baby, we're going to be just fine." Looking at my daughter, her bold new hairstyle a testament to her resilience, I knew we'd come out the other side stronger than ever. Gertrude had tried to break us, but she only made us unbreakable. As we left the salon, our heads held high. I realized something important. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about living well on your own terms. And that's exactly what we intended to do. If you were in Laura's shoes, would you ever consider forgiving Gertrude for her actions? Or do you believe some betrayals are truly unforgivable?